Would you snitch on a shoplifter for a quid? Iceland's boss, Richard Walker, told Channel 5 News last night that shoplifting costs the company over 20 million quid a year. He says the government isn't doing enough to tackle it, so he's come up with this move. Any customer who reports a shoplifter to staff will get £1 on their bonus card, which can be used to pay for their next shop. Would you snitch, if not out of public duty? Would that £1 convince you to spill the beans in aisle 7? Or are you offended at the very idea? What should we be doing instead to tackle shoplifting? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Give us a ring. OK, I don't know about you, but I go into a supermarket to shop, not to denounce my fellow shoppers. So, do you feel, guys, maybe it's time for Iceland to have a rebrand? Not Iceland anymore, but how about this? Pound snitcher.
Very good.
Ron, would you dob somebody in for a couple of bob?
Well, they actually probably owe me a few pounds because I am one of those guys who I consider myself a bit of a vigilante sometimes, you know. I do...
Vigilante? I mean, that...
Absolutely.
It means taking the law into your own hands.
Well, maybe I haven't got to that level, but actually, I remember I filmed somebody stealing a bunch of wine from a shop, and I actually got it out to the police, and they actually convicted the man.
Did they?
Yes, they got him.
That's the first time the police have done anything like that, isn't it?
You've done that out of public duty. Does it change things, do you think, Ava, when it's monetised in this way?
Look, I think it's totally different if someone's in Iceland stealing a load of wine. Do they even sell wine in Iceland? I don't know if they do. But anyway, you know, if they were stealing a lot of wine or they were stealing something, you know, like a high-value luxury item. But I would never snitch on someone who was stealing a pint of milk. Realistically, like, I feel for Richard Walker, who, by the way, was a Labour donor for quite some time, quite a hefty Labour donor, but he seems to have fallen out with the government on a number of things. Actually, I think it was national insurance contributions, that was the first one. Yeah. But you know, look, the government for a long time have defunded police. They have taken away community policing. They have taken away the ability for a police officer to be staffed in situations like this. And if you were to convict someone, it's highly unlikely they're going to be sentenced because there isn't any prisons to put them in. So the problem isn't really in store. The problem isn't a local issue. And I don't think that us as laymen of the public should be responsible for a job that is ultimately one that should be done by the police.
Why not? When we've got members of our community, people who are at the checkouts, the staff there, maybe put at risk by shoplifting. Yeah. We've got businesses that provide us an amenity, could go out of business, could close. Why is it not our collective responsibility to do what Ron does? Step up, whether there's money there or not, and do something about it? I
don't think that anyone who is on, you know, £11 an hour should be putting their life at risk for a conglomerate or a huge corporate that, you know, can actually afford to lose a few pounds here and there for something that is stolen. You know, if this is a real concern for Walker, go to the government, lobby them, tell them you need police officers, tell the government that they should start paying for your security, but it should not be the till checkout person.
We have to take a break, but don't go anywhere because Ron can't wait. He wants to get involved in every way. Would you be a pound snitcher? We're going to get straight to your calls on shoplifting. Iceland is now offering people £1 if they point out a shoplifter to staff. Would you snitch on a shoplifter for a quid? Susan's in Wiltshire. What do you reckon, Susan? Do you feel like you could be a pound snitcher?
Yes, I think that if we all got involved and make citizens arrests, the police would get involved. And all this nonsense about having to, they won't do anything unless they steal over £200 is terrible because it's all costing us more money, which is wrong.
So it goes on the prices. We all end up paying as a result. But why would we need to get a quid from Iceland onto our bonus card? What motivation would that give us? Because what you're talking about is simple public service duty.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's a good starting point. It's a good idea just to start with because a lot of people just won't get involved. They'll walk away. And I just don't think that's right. You know, we need to help the shopkeepers.
So this is a token then, guys, that we're saying we need your help. So if we don't look at this as £1 because that in itself doesn't really help people very much. But Ron, is this like what Susan's saying is it's a token that says we need to engage you?
Yes, it's a start, and it's a good start because people want to be helpful. People do have a duty, a civic duty, to want to perform, and this is just an incentive. And it's one of many, many measures that could be taken into account to tackle this epidemic. Because if you think about it, if I am able to report, or even if you come into a shop and you see a sign that says shop watchers or shoplifting watchers here, operating here, that thief will think twice about going back into that shop or stealing something. And it's the start of something that helps the shop owner. Yesterday we had Mr. Gout from Cornwall, who does exactly this in his shop. So these are the sort of things that we need to be doing as part of the measures to tackle this epidemic.
I mean, the kind of language that we use, like grass snitch, dobbing people in, Ava, all of this goes back to school. What Ron's talking about is a much more grown-up approach to whistleblowing and seeing the good that being open about wrongdoing can do to our communities.
I do like that Conservatives can only really understand socialism when we're talking about something that's got a consumer product attached to it. Because, yeah, you're right. If people are stealing from a supermarket, the prices do go up for the rest of us, which is why it's best. We all pay our fair share all the time. I would refer you to tax. If we all paid our fair share of tax, perhaps we'd have better public services. But, I think the onus, again, sorry to go back to this, but is on the police. I do think that you would be a snitch if you dobbed someone in for stealing a chocolate bar. You don't know the situation they're in. And if you're in another situation where there are say 20 bottles of wine being taken off of the store shelf, I don't see what difference it will make if you go up to the shop assistant and tell them, because I'm assuming that they're. I mean, look at this scene we're looking at right now. Do you need to snitch here? I think it's obvious what's going on.
You mentioned about the conservatism. Conservatism is about law and order. It's about law and order. It's about if you accept...
You did shut a lot of police stations, though.
No, it's about law and order. We shut the police station because of what the country was left under in 2010. No money left in the kitty, and we had nothing else left to do.
That's another argument together.
Let's bring it back to the shop. Let's bring it back to the shop here, the shoplifting. If you're willing to walk away from basic small things like a milk bottle, like a milk being stolen from a shop, and you are able to sort of turn a blind eye. If you turn a blind eye on that, then it means you're accepting low standards in this country. And we're about high standards, and we're about law and order.
I want to get some more calls in. Thanks, Ron. Michelle's in Devon. Michelle, would you be a pound snitcher? Is that term the wrong term? Should we be grown up about whistleblowing and see the good it can do?
Yeah, we should. And I just think it's wrong to do it because, to do it on the people that's, stealing big time things like bottles of wine and all that lot, but not like single parent that child might be starving. I see more of a problem with losing money. I see stop the wars and stop sending all these billions abroad to fund wars.
All right,
That's
Michelle,
where all our money's going.
Michelle, let's draw a line here then, because if you're being offered a quid, right, to dob somebody in, then you get that quid whether they are stealing nappies for their child or whether they are, taking 2 bottles of wine in their jacket out. Iceland doesn't differentiate here. This scheme doesn't know the difference between those two cases.
Oh, right. OK, well, I'm not sure about, I think there needs to be a lot more input into it. You can't just, make people that are vulnerable and need of food suffer. They've got to have more assistance.
No, but Michelle, we have food banks, we have churches, we have charities. This is about law and order, and we cannot allow people to be stealing even small items from a shop and say, oh, well, that's acceptable. If we allow that, then the bigger things are also become acceptable too. This isn't about the victim. This is about trying to stop the perpetrators of crime. This is a crime.
Okay, let's...
It's small stuff.
Yeah, but I just think if it's really small stuff, we should take it into consideration.
Okay.
That's all,
Okay, it's clearly not the same thing, is it? There's 2 cases we're talking about there. David's in London. He was creeping in to Michelle's call there. Well done, David. What did you want to say, David?
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's really fine. Don't worry, David. It's at our end, not yours. David, does it make sense to you, this idea of incentivising whistleblowing on people that are shoplifting?
Morning, Matt. Morning, panel.
Good morning, David.
I think calling him a snitch is quite a derogatory term. I think, they should word that slightly differently. But I think what people are missing, they're missing the point. I think this is a massive, massive PR move on Iceland.
That's
they're
what
going
you
to get
think
more
this
people
is.
through their doors.
You're going to say this is cynical rather than motivating people to say get involved and take responsibility for your community.
I mean, slightly. I think the idea behind it, they must have, this is not something that's just happened overnight. This is something they've been doing for a while. They've been working on. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's good that they're saying, OK, we're going to give you an incentive, but it's going to bring a lot more people through their doors into their stores.
Yes, David,
purely for the fact that they're going to get a quid.
I mean,
David,
what makes you think it's cynical and it's a publicity stunt, David, rather than... Because it seems like you're covering both sides of the argument there. It's a good idea, but what makes you think they're being cynical?
I can see it from both sides. I've had a store in London on Charing Cross Road, and I've seen the amount of stuff that people stole from me. I've worked in retail. I've seen the amount of stuff that people steal on a daily basis. I think the incentive is not necessarily a good one. I think it's good, but I do think on Iceland's part, it is slightly, I wouldn't do it for a quid. I would do it, but I would say keep the quid because I don't need it.
Yeah. OK.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just drawing it to people's attention, including the money. That's the bit that's different from what everybody else is trying to do. I get your point, David. Thank you for that call. Thanks for all your calls. We're going to move on, though.